Welcome back to another gameplay video of Flesh and Blood. Here we are at the Armory in Jyväskylä playing Booster Draft. This is the third and final round of this draft here, and we are witnessing the finals game between these two Oscilio players who have both found a successful draft so far. Oscilio is a lightning wizard hero. His ability reads, here we get to see some gem pack opening live. Destroy a lightning flow you control, discard a card and create a ponder token. If an instant is discarded this way, you may play it this turn. So Oscilio's ability creates ponder tokens and also enables Starfall synergy and also Volzar's weapon here, which can only be activated to amp 1 if an instant card has been put into your graveyard this turn. Oscilio has access to a number of arcane damage spells, but also, of course, generic lightning cards, or quote-unquote generic, that any heroes in this draft format are able to play. And is considered to have a very wide card pool in this draft format, thanks to a lot of instants and general utility cards for this set being perfectly usable and synergistic with Oscilio's cards. Like a lot of lightning instants, they just kind of work to enable Starfall and Volzar and such. So Oscilio on the left, Oscilio, going first, I believe, chose to go first here. In terms of equipment, we see a couple of Astral Sanctuary pieces on each side, but there's a difference in the utility equipment that generate tokens here. Lace Lightning on the left side. Okay, and we see a Star World Warning deployed here. To start things off, a great way to put an instant in the graveyard and also get some lightning flows. So, which are in this format very useful thanks to Omens of Arcana, the macro that gives the lightning flows Spell Void 1. And then a Tap Lessons Past coming in here for 3 arcane thanks to the amp with Volzar. And if that deals damage, Oscilio on the left will be able to tap their hero and put an instant back on the bottom. Now we will see Oscilio being activated on the other side here. Discarding a Constellar Flow Slide, which will then be played to create a lightning flow, or effectively refunding the lightning flow that was consumed for the Oscilio ability. Here we see a Nebula Duality discarded to try and threaten some more arcane damage and make a lightning flow on its own. I believe this is in response to the Constellar Flow Slide, so before that flow actually comes in. Robes is activated here by pitching, interestingly, a red Storm Shard there. That makes a lightning flow of its own. And there we see the ping from Flow Slide taking out 2 lightning flows. Left Oscilio had 4 thanks to the Star World Warning and the Nebula Duality. And so Tap Lessons Past here. Now it's threatening 3 damage. There's 2 lightning flows available. Thanks to the Oscilio activation, the Astral Sanctuary pieces cannot be used because they need to tap the hero to prevent. Looks like we'll use 1 lightning flow to prevent 1 damage and then take some arcane damage here on this first turn of the game that had quite a lot of things happening on both sides of the table. But taking a little bit of damage, but being able to set up that ponder token here Oscilio is tapped to put that Star World warning on the bottom of the deck. And so we move on. And the players draw up cards. I do believe we saw a second Storm Shard in the hand of our right Oscilio there. Here we see some damage prevention. Cosmic Flare played out to gain some resources. And Astral Assault coming out there in red. So, to the observant observer, the right Oscilio is the Oscilio featured during the draft video that I published from this booster draft. So this is finally the opportunity to see that deck in action. Astral Assault, one of the red lightning attacks that were drafted quite highly by this Oscilio player. So we'll see how that works out. Playing more attacks. Storm Shard comes in here with that floating resource over the 6 block, pushing this attack up to a total of 10. And we see left Oscilio using a piece of equipment to stave off some of that damage, taking 3. Having to give up here a pretty good premium red arcane spell for blocking, namely the Meteoric Impact, or chooses to give that up. There was a Comet Collision in the hand available there as well. So that is sent in for 3 arcane. And the mystery card remaining in hand, perhaps going to that to the arsenal. Could be that this was a hand without instant, without an instant, and so making it difficult to utilize the Starfall effects to full effect, especially Meteoric Impact, which benefits greatly from the Starfall effect. Yeah, so Comet Collision here, 3 arcane on the stack. There's some equipment available, and well, yes, doesn't look like there's too much arcane damage prevention available for right Oscilio here. Nevertheless, there's always things you can do on your opponent's turn that you need to consider with this hero. Instant speed effects. We see a Flash Bolt there. I believe in the yellow variety, which can be played at instant speed. Oh, and I think in the arsenal there was a Cosmic Suture. Which can certainly handle this arcane damage. It is in the arsenal though, so it cannot be discarded to Oscilio's ability here to enable Starfall, but perhaps other instants could be discarded in order to achieve that. I think we see another Astral Assault, which probably is desirable to use in conjunction with a Lightning Flow, which could come from that Nebula duality, in which case Cosmic Suture could be played by pitching the Flash Bolt, and then the blue could pay for the Astral Assault as well as Nebula duality. So the pitch is lining up for such a play, but that would miss out on utilizing Volsar, which is perhaps something right Oscilio is trying to figure out. Is there a line here where I get to use my Volsar and perhaps arsenal some card, or what I need to do in order to get maximum value out of this piece of equipment? Because certainly using Volsar as often as possible is a very rewarding play pattern, so to speak. Just squeezing out the most damage you can from your deck and making sure that you're not running out of damage, for example, or otherwise just missing out on value, of course. This is not necessarily going to be like this super aggressive and quick game, since with arcane damage the damage numbers are a little bit lower than they would be with physical damage, and the amount of go again available to the Oscilio hero is not necessarily that high. So taking the time to make sure that you're playing efficiently rather than just trying to convert your hand as quick as possible or as conveniently as possible is probably a good idea here. So trying to find a line where you get to use Volsar might be good here, and I think that's what we're going no, preventing some damage here with Oscilio. For a second I thought there was an activation, but of course there was no lightning flow available at the moment for activating Oscilio. So card goes to the arsenal on left Oscilio's side of things. So we are now in right Oscilio's turn. The Cosmic Suture was not played out, so the arsenal is occupied for the time being. Astral Assault played out just as it is. 5 power attack. So one resource floating, importantly, could come in handy for that Nebula duality. The right Oscilio could also be anticipating some instant speed arcane damage and holding tools that could be used to deal with that. The Cosmic Suture and such. So one card placed in front of this. There is a Cosmic Suture on left Oscilio's side as well. Will that be utilized to cover up some of the remaining damage, I wonder? We see Oscilio activation, Cosmic Suture discarded. Ponder created here, and with the Volsar amp, 2 arcane damage. And so 2 damage prevented by the Suture. Two floating. One of which will be... in response to Cosmic Suture, the Nebula duality is deployed here. So not being able to leverage that full prevention value here. Unfortunately for left Oscilio. The turn is passed here with 1 card left in hand for right Oscilio. This is something that can be entirely fine in this format, and perhaps particularly in this mirror match, to simply hold on to a card that is going to be useful for enabling a future turn, or that is otherwise too powerful to give up to a block or something like that. Arc Ramp coming in here, using the Lightning Flow to amp for 3 and get go again, followed up by Comet Collision, 6 Arcane, Ponder Token ready to fill up that arsenal. We do see a Cosmic Suture and a Conveil of Volthaven on right Oscilio's side, in addition to the Cosmic Suture in the arsenal. So there's plentiful damage prevention here for right Oscilio. Also a red Nebula duality, which could be a great answer, just sending back some arcane damage. Oscilio activation is available thanks to the lightning flow. But there's no blue card in hand, so not the most efficient line here, potentially. Although by pitching 2 yellows, one could play the Conveil of Volthaven. I'll just bring that up here. prevent 3. Or activate Oscilio for that. Then pitch 2 yellows and use the remaining resource to discard Nebula Duality. But that's using up all the cards on defense, not sending much offense back. Since there's 2 sutures available here, we'll probably see one of them deployed. But the question is if we can find a Starfall Volzar line here to get some arcane damage pinging from either Cosmic Suture. Oscilio activation is the call that will give us the Starfall Volzar activation. So what are we discarding here? It's the Calm Veil of Volthaven, which will then presumably be played out. Pitching the red Nebula Duality here, activating Volzar, and then playing the Suture on top. So the red Suture here will have its Starfall effect enabled. So it does ping for 2 damage thanks to the amp from Volzar, and all of the damage is prevented. And a lightning flow left behind, as well as a Ponder token. Fairly clean line here for right Oscilio, fully stopping that big arcane turn. Now we see on left Oscilio's side there is another copy of Meteoric Impact, as well as a number of instants. Here we see blue instant played out, the Sigil of Astral Flow. That creates at the start here a lightning flow and enables Volzar and Starfall. Oscilio considering some arsenal card here. There is a turn to Mindfire. Meteoric Impact benefiting more from the setup that was done here, but choosing to go for the turn to Mindfire. Perhaps looking for that Ponder token. Had this had go again, Meteoric Impact could be a very powerful follow-up here. But amping with Volzar brings this up to 6 arcane. So left Oscilio is now asking, well, okay, you prevented my 6 arcane last turn, but can you do it again? It turns out, probably yes. There is indeed a, we see Echo Flash there. But more importantly for this damage coming in here, a red Haven Veil. So this can prevent 3 arcane damage. We also see another Calm Veil of Volthaven, but this time I believe it is in yellow. But that adds up to 5 prevention, and with the boots that's a total of 6. So it is possible to deny the Ponder token from turn to Mindfire's on hit, so to speak, effect. We see the Boots of Astral Sanctuary activated. Calm Veil of Volthaven. Paid for by a yellow Electrolyze. Or some slight take-backsies here. Perhaps right Oscilio wants to activate Oscilio instead of... wants to play the Cosmic Suture here. So that will get its Starfall effect. And amped by Volzar. 2 damage presented. Some very clean defensive lines here from right Oscilio. Clearly just being able to deal with all of the arcane damage and even sending some pain back and making the occasional ponder token to refill the juice in the arsenal. If we're looking at the pitch stack from or the pitch that's been pitched away from right Oscilio, there's been some quite powerful instants also pitched away. I believe this is the third Cosmic Suture we've seen from right Oscilio. One boots here leveraged to prevent some damage, making that Embodiment of Lightning token. Also, I believe we saw an Astral Sanctuary also used to prevent all of that. And turn to Mindfire will be prevented. Left Oscilio on their side also putting some powerful stuff in the pitch zone. And before the Mindfire resolves, the Constella Contemplation comes in here to ping for 1 arcane, which does allow the Mindfire to get through with just 1 damage, since that Constella Contemplation consumed up a little bit of damage prevention. So left Oscilio gets their Ponder token after all. And there was a Chromatic Refinements placed in the arsenal there, which might come in handy for sure. Now right Oscilio has 1 card left in hand. Looks to be passing to the end here. And that looked like that's the Haven Veil that we chose not to use on the previous turn. Perhaps, yes, consciously chose to keep that Haven Veil, since it destroying itself at the start of the action phase is a Starfall enabling effect. So useful to keep that around for when you actually have a way to utilize it. Left Oscilio thinking about playing something before the end of right Oscilio's turn here. Maybe an aura to set things up. I think we see a Convale of Volthaven in that hand, as well as a blue and some powerful reds. Chooses not to play out anything there. And here we see Flittering Spike in red, given go again by the Embodiment of Lightning. 4 go again when it hits Greater Lightning Flow. But if there's an instant card played on this chain link, it does get +2. So potentially a 1-cost 6 attack. Right Oscilio has a Flittering Spike of their own in hand, as well as a Electrolyze. Looking like some quite powerful attacks on that side. And a Stellar Glide. 3 attack hand. Will we give up some of these? I wonder. Electrolyze, of course, doesn't block at all. That will definitely stay in hand. Presumably also another card to pitch to play it. Flittering Spike sent here to defend. Looking for 3, and there we see the Chromatic Refinement played out. Pumping Flittering Spike up to 6. So 3 damage goes through there. This aura will stay until the next turn. So the on-hit creates a Lightning Flow for left Oscilio. A handy little resource to be sure. And the follow-up here is Aether Sling. I believe there's no opportunity for Volzar activation thus far. So it's just 4 arcane. Haven Veil is coming in here, preventing 3 of those. With 1, was there a lightning flow utilized? Yeah, I think so. Right, put the last card in arsenal. And now it's back to right Oscilio with this attack heavy hand. Cleanly converting thanks to Electrolyze's natural go again. Or go again. Left Oscilio looks to have more than a few instants in this hand. He's only able to defend with the 1 card, it would seem. Which might be their only blue in this hand as well. That is a sometimes frustrating thing with Oscilio, that you don't necessarily have all the blocks when you would like to have some. Although there is a Cosmic Suture that can prevent damage here as well. But the duality is sent on defense here. And we also see a Calm Veil of Volthaven played from Arsenal in the yellow variety, covering up the rest of damage and 1 damage prevention floating. Stellar Glide is the follow-up. Second attack of this turn. Perhaps an unexpected line of play. And now we're definitely seeing some challenges with defending, since there were no more blocking cards there. Another Chromatic Refinement is played out. 2 of them which would be destroying themselves at the same time here. Volzar can then be activated. And a red Flashbolt, played as though it were a regular 0 for 3 spell. Amped up from Volzar and given 2 damage by these refinements in total. It's coming in for 6. I believe there is some uncertainty regarding how these damage bonuses work. The first time that card would deal damage this turn, instead it deals that much +1. Is worded, I believe, the same way as Volsar. Instead deal that much +1. So this is effectively the same as amping. So Flashbolt here, very powerful card in the later stages of the game where your opponent is at low life. You can just send a huge spell at instant speed. But in this situation, things turned out in such a way that this is just being played as a regular card. Right Oscilio in turn does have some damage prevention in this hand. There is a yellow Haven Veil. Came prepared for the matchup. Chooses not to deploy this, but rather glide through Starlight in 2 copies. Discarded to prevent 2 damage. Oh, and the Haven Veil was also played, yes. So 2 damage coming through in total. And so right Oscilio once more is just passing to the end of the turn here. Thanks to these defensive cards taking up the full hand, essentially. And here we see a red Storm Shard from the right Oscilio. That's interesting. Left Oscilio has, I believe, only blue offensive cards in this hand. Sends a Volatile Fluxer, another natural go again card in this set, but it doesn't have any damage unless you play an instant. Spellbane Sigil is played to give it +1, and it creates the lightning flow. Not the most powerful use of 2 cards to deal 1 damage and leave behind a flow, but it'll do, I suppose. Now there's a tap lessons past in the hand there in blue. Could be played by pitching this brush off. Although not a very efficient use of cards that either. But it is damage. So the question is if we want to keep this brush off and put it in the arsenal, or if we just want to try to convert for damage. We want to convert for damage, says left Oscilio. Place the blue tap lessons past. No instant has entered the graveyard this turn, so no Volzar activation. Two flows cover up the damage. So tap lessons past does not get to do its special ability there. So left Oscilio passes back. Here is another volatile fluxer, this time the much more offensively potent red version of the card. Presents this fork situation where it can get +3 if there's an instant, but if it's defended, then maybe that instant will not come out after all, and so it's just no blocks declared, and Storm Shard comes in here for free thanks to, or played without pitching, thanks to the lightning flow there. Now an attack for 6, really quite a lot of damage considering that left Oscilio is at 8 life here. Spellbane Sigil on the table, not doing anything in this situation. This is just physical damage. Another copy of Spellbane Sigil in the hand. But they are of absolutely no use when you're being attacked in this way. I don't see any other prevention cards there, but there is the headpiece available to prevent 1 damage. Meteoric Impact in the hand also. A great follow-up once that Spellbane Sigil, and so the damage comes through. Down to 2 life. Oh, and here is another physical attack. Really not something you want to see when your hand is all instants and you have access to lots of arcane barrier, lots of lightning flows. But they don't do anything against these attack actions. And the only blocking card is that Meteoric Impact, which is of course the most potent aggressive card in this hand as well. So there's Oscilio activation is available here. Volzar could amp up the blue flashbolt to send a whole 2 damage at instant speed here. But that's not quite getting us where we want. I believe time was called here. So left Oscilio reaching out for the fist here, but rejected. Right Oscilio wants to play this out, and doesn't matter if it's a draw or if there's a concession. With 4 cards left in deck, having to give up this last meteoric impact, it's certainly looking quite grim for left Oscilio. There may not be enough juice left in the deck to present enough damage here. Especially now. Meteoric impact is blocking for 3. Oscilio activation. Cashes in a lightning flow to make a ponder. Playing out the flashbolt while defenses are still down. Getting 2 damage out there. Right, Oscilio doesn't even bother using a lightning flow here. Happy to use that life buffer. Prevents another damage with Constella Tiara. Perhaps slightly awkwardly creating that second ponder that's not necessarily helping us that much. Although it will allow left Oscilio to effectively draw up their whole deck. Should they survive this turn? They have 3 lightning flows, 2 life, and right Oscilio just drew up a full hand, which includes a yellow flashbolt. Well, this of course is the final turn of the match, since the timer has run out. And the majestic Echo Flash. So if we use that flow to discard Echo Flash, that's one arcane right there, Starfall enabled. Can we reach 5 arcane here? Discards Echo Flash. That's 1 arcane. Volzar amps it up to 2. Oh, sorry, this is not Echo Flash, this is Uplift, Constella Uplift. My bad. Untapped Volsar and amping the Flashbolt. It is 5 damage, I believe.
And then you get the Starfall this. Yeah, then you can get the Starfall this. And then you can use the one last resource into this.
So a little bit of commentary regarding the most efficient ways to use all these cards here. If Flash, I believe if 1 resource here was saved by not using Oscilio, playing Flashbolt, there could be one more damage in there, I believe, was the commentary from the sidelines. And so the game goes to right Oscilio, being able to end the game on the final turn after time was called. Left Oscilio looking at their 3 useless Spellbane Sigils, which did not matter at all when most of the damage was coming. There was simply too much physical to contend with. So if you saw the draft video, well, I did comment about this this deck that was drafted by the Oscilio on the right there, which had a critical mass of red attack action cards and really quite few red arcane damage spells. So leveraging the damage prevention effects with a little bit of pinging here and there, as well as just massive red attacks, really applies enough pressure to the opponent and keeps their stuff at bay. Particularly when they're sending arcane damage, it means you're competing on rate quite efficiently. And as we saw at the end here, pitching these instant speed effects for dealing arcane damage came in very handy, and simply just ended the game on the opponent's turn. classic wizard finish, one might say. Yeah, interesting game. I think it was cool to see the Oscilio mirror. Through this draft coverage, we got to see all of the heroes in action. Unfortunately, left Oscilio was unable to complete the trifecta by defeating each of the heroes once. But so it goes. So it goes. All right. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this interesting. Bye bye.